Hail and Meshes Adventures! Today we will look at my favorite spells in Baldurs Gate 3. And while we can all agree that best spell in the game is Fireball, doing massive damage, there are more interesting and cool spells that you can use with some creativity to inflict massive damage to all enemies you see. And we start with the Grease. Grease is actually one of my favorite spells. Combat in Baldur's Gate 3 requires some knowledge and planning on how you want to approach each battle. And Grease can set up the playground. So for example, just using Grease over here, we can make incredible explosion. That's because Grease is making oily surface. Creatures will have difficult time to move over this surface, and additionally the surface can be flammable. So when you inflict some fire damage or just use it near the fire, it becomes massive fireball. And while having 4-meter radius, it's just 2 meters less than Fireball. Next spell that I like to use is Sleep. Sleep is awesome spell. Basically what it does, it puts creatures up to a combined 24 hit points into a magical slumber, or just into sleep. So if you see that Lesser Imp got 6 HP and second one got 6 HP too, you will have 12 HP combined, so we can use Sleep on those. And they will be fall asleep. This is a very good spell for preparation, because 2 turns is actually insane amount of time. So we can put these 2 imps into sleep, and they will be fall asleep for 2 turns, while we can set up our traps. So this is first turn when they're sleeping. We can use, for example, my favorite Grease on them.
It's not quite what I expected.
So after we put creatures into sleep mode, we can make our setups. For example, we can Grease them, and it can make them fall down already. And to continue our setup, we can use Burning Hands. Burning Hands doing a lot of damage, and it makes damage to multiple targets at the same time. So you can see this triangle radius, or how we call it, and it will inflict damage to everyone in those radius. And while creatures staying in the Grease, we can make them burn double amount, just like that. So they will take damage from the burning, and they will take damage from our Burning Hands. Another awesome spell that can make the setup even more deadly is Flaming Sphere. So Flaming Sphere basically summoning Flaming Sphere. Let me show you. And when we summon it on the Grease, it will flame all the Grease and it will inflict more damage. Flaming Sphere will be in your party, so you can control it. It will be stay alive for 10 turns, and you can move around, and if it touch enemies, it will inflict fire damage to them. But be careful, Flaming Sphere can damage stuff around, and you can be damaged too by it. Additionally, it requires concentration. For those of you who don't know, concentration is meaning that you need to focus on this spell, so you can't use other spells that require concentration, because you can only cast one concentration spell at a time, and if you take damage, the spell can be broken. As you may notice, I like spells that can be combined and used in a unique and interesting way. And there's another spell, Create or Destroy Water. This one is Druid spell, if I'm not mistaken, so you can't use it on Wizard or Sorcerer. But what it does, it's basically making large radius of water, just like this. So rainy day, every creature that got in this radius became wet. Wet condition preventing you from burning, resist to fire damage, but you're vulnerable to lightning and cold damage. So that's why I like this spell as preparation spell for my combination. So basically we're creating water somewhere, and cool part, when you hover mouse over water surface, you will see that water can shut down flames, but it can be electrified or frozen. So this is my combination. You making water surface, and then you just put some frost spell. No matter it's cantrip or just awesome spell, and you just like this can make people or other creatures prone on this surface, because it became ice surface, while additionally doing damage of your ice spell. Additionally, it can be used with electric spells. But how I like to use, I actually like to use icy spells after water, so we create an ice surface. Then I use my fire magic, and fire magic destroys ice surface, and we can use our lightning damage. So this will inflict damage to the target and make this electrified water. For 2 turns, every creature on this will be inflicted with 1d4 lightning damage every turn. And that's insane, because just after it ends you can again use frost, and if creatures not lucky, they will be prone all the time. And before we go to my favorite combination, this level 3 spell, Khalif of Warding, is actually a very cool and interesting spell. Just make sure to use it before fight or when you retreat, so this is again very tactical and very interesting spell. You can pick one of 7 types of spell. You can make sleep, detonation, chunder, lighting, fire, cold or acid damage. While sleep and detonation doesn't do damage, it makes some awesome stuff. You already know what sleep does, so let me show you detonation. And what this glyph doing, it's basically creating surface. It's like a trap, and when enemies will stay on this trap, it will detonate and do its described stuff. So basically lighting or other damage will inflict damage, and a large amount of damage because it's level 3 spell. Oh, just look. We made this awesome trap. Enemy comes and everyone fall apart. Actually be aware, because I fall apart too. So if you want some spacing stuff, you can put it like, for example, over here. And when these guys will step on this trap, they will be pushed out. Additionally, you can shove other enemies in this trap too. So it will work like that, but always keep in mind that he will need to do successful saving throws, and as you can see, this intellect devourer wasn't affected by this magic. So maybe one of my favorite level 2 spells, Moonbeam. Here we got Druid with Moonbeam, and what it does, it making basically Moonbeam on the target, just like that. But coolest part that Moonbeam stays for a few turns after, and you can use action to move it. So if used like this before the fight even starts, we can inflict damage, and then while staying pretty safe, we can move the beam, and it will go to other location. We can move it once again, it will do damage again, and basically just like this, even before fight starts, we already killed almost every enemy. Just don't forget, this is action, so it's user's action. But action is much better than using spell slot, which is very useful resource that we don't want to waste. And one of my favorite spells from level 2, again, Spike Growth. It's a druid spell, and it's making a large radius, 6 meter radius, basically same as Fireball. And all this radius will be covered in spikes. So as you can see, radius is insane. Just look. So all area in spikes right now, and it lasts for 100 turns. It's just insane amount of time. And for every 1.5 meter anyone moves on the spikes, they will be inflicted 2d4 damage, and this is just insane. You can combine it with Torn Whip, and this is Druid cantrip, to just lure target on these turns, and it will make even more damage when target will try to move out of this area. But for example, just for those of you who don't really good in math, 6 meter radius means it's 12 meter diameter, so there's 12 meters, and Lae'zel will take 10 times damage when she will move over this surface. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, she's done. That's how good this stuff is. So if you want to block some paths for enemies, they won't even be able to go through this. That's just incredible spell. And let's go to my favorite king of all spells, the Fireball. Just look at this incredible stuff. I hope you enjoyed this list of awesome Baldur's Gate 3 spells, and if so, go watch my favorite cantrips right now on the screen.